Mute, start the video. That's the picture that's going out now. And I will record it. And then I'm just gonna start the meeting off. Traditionally, we start with a silent prayer and pledge of allegiance. Is that the board's preference?
I like it.
Okay, we'll do that then. Amen. Pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The next item of business is to do some oaths of office.
Okay. I'm David Bream. I'm the village law director, now city law director, excuse me. I've done that quite a few times, won't be the last time. If you could all take your oaths, we're gonna do it orally. I'm gonna swear you in. We can just do it as a group. If you wouldn't mind stand and raising your right hands. And this will be where I say your name, say your name, do it as a group. So I say your name, do hereby solemnly swear or affirm that I will support the laws of the United States of America, the state of Ohio, and the city of Sunbury, and to faithfully, honestly, and impartially discharge my duties as a member of the Sunbury Board of Zoning Appeals for the duration of my term in office. Congratulations. If you could sign your oath.
So now that you've been officially sworn in, I am going to call the roll for our very first meeting. Oh, congratulations. And if you have a preference of Mrs. or a Miss, just let me know that. But Miss Crawford? Miss Frost? Mr. Grinnell?
Yes.
Mr. Long?
Here.
Mr. Shrewsbury?
Here.
And Mr. Whitman?
Here.
Great. Okay, so we have a quorum. As this is an organizational meeting, I thought it might be, you've kind of introduced yourselves individually, but maybe to have an introduction of each member and the staff that's going to support you and spend some time getting to know each other, and then we can move on to other items. So you want to flip a coin, or should we have, I'm going to let Daryl start. Daryl is, as you are a new board, Daryl is a new employee as of today. So
yeah, so this is my first day. My name's Daryl Hennessy. I'm the assistant administrator.
And I'm David Bream. We'll tell them a little bit about where you came from. And your background.
Okay.
Otherwise, I'm going to do it for you.
Well, I was going to say, so this is my first day here in Sunbury. Prior to that, I served as the city manager in the city of Charlestown, West Virginia for about 4.5 years. Prior to that, I worked for the state of Ohio, mostly in the area of economic development.
David Bream, director of law, been serving that capacity since 1998. Born here, raised here, love it here. Appreciative of all you being willing to do this. There's been times, you've got 6 members sitting here. We've had 6 members of a planning commission since I started, and there were times where we had to arm wrestle people to serve on that board. So I appreciate everybody that's willing to engage in any type of public service, especially in a capacity like this. So nice to meet you officially, and I look forward to working with you.
My name is Vic Whitney. I'm also an attorney
with Dave Bream's firm. We're partners. So I'm assisting him in his role as the city law director, and I will be with you guys to provide legal services to you as the board continues in your duties and roles. Also, in working currently as the prosecutor in the mayor's court for the city of Sunbury. We meet every other Tuesday, so we have a mayor's court tomorrow night, so I'm doing that as well. And again, look forward to getting to know you guys and meeting, knowing you better, and working with you here moving forward and providing you with the legal assistance as required.
And I should have clarified that. I'm the village law director. I mean, that's my title. I kind of in the overall legal counsel of the village. It doesn't mean I do every single legal thing the village needs. Vic works with me. He's my partner. He's handling primarily the zoning functions for the village. So it's not only you as a board of zoning appeals, but the planning and zoning commission, which hears they meet monthly and hear most of the zoning stuff. But he's also the prosecutor in the mayor's court. He's helping with our economic development and the numerous development agreements and things that we're now involved in as we grow a lot. And I'm still here. He will be the one at these meetings generally moving forward. To the extent he can't be here, then I'll be here. We always have somebody. And you can feel free to really contact either of us. I would prefer you route it through him just because he's the one that's going to be here every meeting. But if you can't get a hold of him, you've got something that's pressing, feel free to call me, as well as staff to get your questions answered. So we're here for you.
I'm Steve Piles. I'm the one that's been peppering you with emails and pleading for you to come serve, and thank you for that. I came to Sunbury the summer of 19 as the zoning officer. Before that, I managed Granville, Ohio, and before that, I managed Wellington, Ohio. And before that, I worked for the mayor of Marion, Ohio. And before that, I was in the private sector. Since August, I've been the city administrator. I'm in the 9th inning of my career, as I like to say, and I'm working toward a succession plan for myself and for the community. And again, thank you for your willingness to serve. We'll probably have another follow-up meeting that'll be kind of training oriented. I don't know that we'll get deep into the handbook and some other items tonight, but we did provide those to you. And then it'll be on an as-needed basis when either someone appeals one of my decisions, which at that point, Daryl will step in and, he's the staff support, so there's no internal conflict of interest. And then on the variances, I'll probably be writing the reports for you and giving you hopefully the facts and what you need to weigh in your decision. Some of the variances that we've seen since I've been here, corner lots and fences are challenging. And we've had a couple folks, we've had a height issue of a couple feet. We have a 35-foot maximum on height. Had somebody exceed that by a couple feet. And we've had in some of what I call the classic and the vintage neighborhoods, we've had someone want to rebuild a garage where the garage used to sit. There was a foundation there, but it had been taken down decades ago. And it was the best location for a garage. And so we allowed a variance because it would have moved it right into the middle of their lot, and they would have had a backing conflict with their neighbor. And so those are the kind of things that I've seen, but a handful in the 2 or 3 years that I've done this. So it's not terribly, hopefully it stays that way, not a real busy type of thing. So.
Great. David Grinnell. I'm retired for the last 35 years. I've been a corporate attorney for Dresser Rand Company and for Siemens, doing commercial real estate litigation strategy. That's pretty much it.
Yeah, hi, Ben Whitman. I've been a resident here since 2014. Worked for a network services company called Everstream here in Columbus. And just excited for the opportunity and look forward to getting to know everybody and working together.
Mark Long. I've been in Sunbury for a couple of years now, and prior to that, Westerville. I work for Cardinal Health out of Dublin, but primarily out of my house at this point. And I'm happy to be on the board, so thank you for having me.
I'm Nancy Crawford. I've been in and out of the community for 17 years now. Excuse me. I'm currently the executive director of the Chamber of Commerce, and I'm just happy to be here. Thank you.
Kurt Shrewsbury. My wife and I have lived here in Sunbury since 2013. This will be my first time serving the public in any capacity, so it'll be a good experience, and I look forward to it.
I'm Ann Frost. I've been in Sunbury for 10 years. My family's been here since the 1950s. So long history here. I currently work for the Ohio National Guard, and I plan construction projects for them.
The next agenda item we have, and this could be put off for another meeting, but yeah, eventually there needs to be a chair and a vice chair for the board, someone to take over the gavel and run the meeting. I don't know if you're at a comfort level of knowing each other yet to talk about that issue, or if you'd like to put it off till we have one more meeting. And I'll continue to kind of be a quasi chair until you have business. And then I've got to step out of that role. But I don't know if you're comfortable doing that tonight, or if you'd like to have another meeting in some time before you make that decision. Or if there's a volunteer that wants to be the chair of the Board of Zoning Appeals.
So basically what the chair does is call the meeting to order, recognize people, go through the agenda, recognize people that want to speak. We do a lot of these appeals will be with a court reporter. I mean, we create a court record. You are an appellate body. So there needs to be some decorum. You need to keep people from talking over each other. So the chair is going to be in charge of that. The vice chair will fill in when the chair's not here. Nothing too difficult. I mean, it doesn't really require, I don't think that I can think of any preparation or work outside of the meeting itself, but you do have to be somebody who's willing to step into that role. And to the extent, there's ever a question, Vic will be here, Steve will be here. It's not as though you're completely on your own. Generally speaking, our public bodies of Sunbury have followed Robert's rules in a loose interpretation. I have not had, luckily or unluckily, depending on what side of the fence you're on, I haven't had anybody throwing out, Robert's rules that are too difficult in most meetings. Most of the time, people are fairly respectful, and to the extent you tell your visitors or your applicants, you have so long, or you need to speak one at a time, or, same way with you all. I mean, obviously, you're going to observe the rules, but not too much involved there. And again, I think it's to select the officers annually. So if you do it for a year and you decide it's not for me, I didn't like that, or you don't want to do it anymore, there's nothing that says you can't stop doing it and have somebody else doing it. I don't know that it's not a continuing commitment beyond the year. And certainly, I don't think it's written in blood that you have to continue if you really don't like doing it. So that being said, my thought is just take it under advisement, and the next time you come in, we can ask for either nominations or a volunteer, which is usually what this boils down to, somebody that's willing to do it. So.
And the vice chair does nothing other than sit in for the chair if the chair is not here. So, yeah.
I did want to ask you about meeting day and times, if there's any preferences that you have, so that we can try to get something that works for everyone. The first and third and fifth Wednesdays, I'm booked with the council meeting. The fourth Monday of the month is the planning commission meeting, but beyond that, any other days are open depending upon your preferences. So,
Are we required to meet before the zoning board meeting?
generally, I think the way that will kind of flow is someone might submit a site plan that requires a variance, and we'll point that out to them in the initial review with the Planning and Zoning Commission. And then they'll hopefully file that quickly. And we've got a 15-day notice that we need to get out. And then, so we'll try to time it out so that you're meeting after the Planning and Zoning Commission, but with enough time that if it's a variance that you can decide that night, then they can come back to the next planning commission with the variances that they need in hand, or with decisions, which might be, no, you're not going to put that building right against the setback of the rear lot. And so then they'll have to go and review and revise their site plan. But that's kind of how I see that process flowing, is we'll have variances emerge through planning and zoning that are needed and then referred to this board to decide.
And they meet Monday nights?
They meet Monday nights
How often? How
at the end
frequent?
of the month, the fourth Monday of the month.
I'm almost thinking week-wise from a staff perspective. And, you know, Sunbury is, we're growing, but we're still small staff-wise. And there's not tons of staff across the street. So for me, it'd be better for them maybe to do it the second week of the month. You know, that's 2 full weeks before the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting, or 2 weeks after, at least 7-10 days after. Well, or we want to do it the third week.
Yeah, we want to at least have that.
So maybe the third
15
week.
days.
Oh, wait a minute, not the third week. I'm thinking second or fourth week. I'm trying to stay away from council, because council's
Gotcha.
first and third week. So they've already got that on the schedule. That's right in the middle of the week on Wednesdays. And that council meetings are a lot to prepare for, a lot of stuff they have.
Sure.
So I'm thinking that maybe the fourth week is the same week as zoning. You want to,
Yeah, so if it was late in the second week of the month, like, let's talk about weeknights. What weeknights are good, bad, or otherwise for you guys? Is there one where?
normally we stay away from Fridays.
Yep,
Just
good.
because you're gonna end up with all kinds of people that can't be here on Friday.
So maybe a Thursday night, that way it doesn't interfere with council.
If we did it on a council week, Thursday would be good. My only kind of reservation about that would be Wednesday and Thursday, back-to-back meetings. But and you guys are, again, I hope you enjoy this. I hope it's eventful for you to the extent, you know, whatever your expectations are, I hope they're met. But we don't have a ton of these. I mean, you're gonna meet as needed. This isn't gonna be like planning and zoning where you have to meet every month. You're gonna meet on an application-driven basis. So it could be 3 months between meetings, potentially.
So are you saying Monday and Tuesday is better for the overall schedule?
Steve, what do you think?
Well, like, let's say hypothetically, and this, I don't think is gonna happen, well, we're not having a meeting tonight. But if the Planning and Zoning Commission had met tonight and they had a variance to refer to them, if they met on the 10th, that would be 10, 11, 12, 11, 12, 13, 14. That's not gonna give us enough time. So it's almost gotta be that third. And we don't need to, I don't know that we need to set a week as much as we just
Yeah.
need to set a
I think
night.
that's what I'm thinking, because it's also application driven, because a lot of our rules say you're supposed to consider within so many days of them filing the application. We have no way to control that. So once an application's in-house, we've got to advertise it anyway. So there's going to be notice to you on when it would be. Probably you're right. Let's start out with just identifying a weekday. If there are weekdays that just flat out don't work for you guys, let's establish those now. So with the exception of Fridays, what day of the week would not work for somebody?
Thursday for me would not
Tuesdays are
work.
out, so we're looking at Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday.
Tuesdays are a challenge for me.
Tuesdays are a challenge for you, so we're looking at Monday,
Wednesdays
Wednesday.
are a challenge for me.
Yeah.
Wednesdays are a challenge for you. So what about Monday?
Monday.
That's good. All right.
Mondays are good?
All right, first decision, thank you. The journey starts with these small steps, so, okay. Mondays will be the,
And Steve, if we were, okay, so parlaying that forward, Steve, if we were to look at Mondays, I think we're gonna run into problem front or tail, no matter how we do it, but what are you thinking?
well, if we go that, the third Monday should be enough time.
Okay.
Because then the fourth Monday is gonna be planning commission.
Why don't we start with that? You know, kind of plan that to the extent we're going to meet moving forward, and maybe we'll schedule another organizational meeting today, but moving forward on applications as filed, generally speaking, until we discuss it or you all discuss it and you want to change it, we're looking at the third Monday.
And a lot of that, as Dave said, the applicant may not go back Tuesday morning and produce the paperwork they need to produce for you folks. So it could be. But that should be optimum in terms of if people, the applicant's moving it along, we'll be able to hear them and get a resolution before the next planning commission. Okay. So number 4 is about the introduction to roles.
Steve, did you want to confirm the time? Is 5:30 the right
Oh, that's a
time?
good point, yeah. Is 5:30 good? You want to go a little bit later or? Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Roles and responsibilities. I've sent you some materials about this before. Essentially, you act in a quasi judicial way. You hear evidence from an applicant. You may hear evidence on what our zoning code says, and then you need to make a decision based upon that, fact-driven as much as you can. You'll be hearing variances, and in a rare, hopefully rare situation, you may hear an appeal of a decision that I made. You know, I refuse to allow somebody to build a fence because it's going to be in an important drainage easement, and it's going to impact 3 of the neighbors upstream who now have a fence blocking their surface drainage or something like that. So those are the main 2 issues that will come before you. And again, it's a matter of, there will be a staff report with the variances that will let you know where the property is located, what the issues are, some graphics that kind of demonstrate where that site plan is not in agreement with our zoning code. So you will get, and those I try to keep to just a couple pages. They're not lengthy documents, but at least give you enough background. At your next meeting, we're kind of waiting on getting you our actual full zoning code. I think this is probably it right here. It's in the process of being reviewed and approved by council. And so I hate to burn up a couple hundred pages of things that will be out of date within a couple weeks. So
That way it's available on the website. It's going to be posted. So you'll be able to get to it that way.
Yeah.
And once your handbook is approved and your rules of approval, post those as well. Nothing's a secret.
and that's one thing I'd mention. We do a lot of work, you know, you will get paper on what we're doing, and we'll make arrangements to hopefully get those out before the meeting to you. And it'll just probably be a delivery at your doorstep type of thing where I just put it by your front door. We also use OneDrive as our digital way of sharing files. I believe Olivia, who's one of our assistants, sent you an invitation to the BZA folder that's in OneDrive. There's not much in there now, but we'll be populating that. If you have any issues getting into that or using that, let me know and we'll work through that. Do you want to talk any more about roles?
Yeah, I mean, other things that to keep in mind, and you'll come up with questions that maybe you don't have tonight. You can feel free to call Vic at any time, or, you know, we'll give you his email as well. You are a public body, so you're bound by the Sunshine Law. Sunshine Law says you can't meet outside of this body to make decisions concerning things that are of public interest. And really, the law says it's a prearranged discussion of a majority. So what does that mean to you? People ask me that all the time. Does that mean we can't have a breakfast together? And I say, no, technically it doesn't. If you're at breakfast and you're not talking about public business,
you really could do it, but if there's 5 of you sitting there, I always say it's not the impropriety, it's the appearance of the impropriety. Right? Just doesn't look right. And people aren't going to understand, well, we weren't talking about anything. So I say, I try to avoid it. You know, does it mean you can't be standing in the parade, the crowd together and waving as people go by and you're not even talking about it? Doesn't mean that. But you know, you have to be cognizant of the sunshine laws. Everything that you do is supposed to be done in an open meeting. You also, since you're a judicial body, you have to worry about ex parte communications. And ex parte communications, communicating with one side while the other side's not present. And what does that mean? Who are the sides? Well, the sides are the applicant for sure, but on the other side could be the applicant's neighbor. You know, it could be the guy across the street. It could be somebody 4 blocks over who wanted the same thing, didn't get it, whatever that might be. So you've got to be aware of that, right? Really, you don't want to talk to people about their pending variance applications, other than you don't want to be rude either. This talks about in your handbook, you know, if you want to go out and look at a site visit, you should do that. Be careful not to trespass, right? But you can do it from the street. You can look at it online. You can look at aerial views, whatever you want to look at. And you're going to have staff reports that give you most of that information, hopefully enough to be able to make your decision. But if you're going to go out and look at it, you want to not be engaged in a big long discussion necessarily with the applicant, property owner, neighbor who's mad, whatever. You just say, I'm really not allowed to talk about the case while I'm here. But I'll be glad to see you that come in and, you know, whatever. So those are kind of 2 things you have to be aware of. Again, with you all, probably those are stuff that's not going to happen that much. It's out there. Your action levels are in here and your rules. It takes 4 of 6 of you to act. So it's going to need to be a majority. To the extent you don't have a quorum, it's still 4. So if there's only 5 of you and that's a quorum, it doesn't mean it's 3 or 5, it's still 4 or 5. So you have to keep that in mind too. I one time, this was a long time ago, and I can say this because the person's no longer with us, but I had somebody vote to make a point, and he was kind of trying to be funny, but because of the way the quorum thing worked, it defeated something, and it was going to cause a major thing, and we had to walk out in the hallway, and finally, by the time they realized that, we all had to circle around and go back in and reconvene the meeting and redo it. So you got to make sure that, you know, when it comes down to your votes and what's required to actually pass something, you kind of know where you sit on that. And a lot of times we'll announce that before the meeting anyway, if somebody's absent. You know, there's a lot in these handbooks. I mean, frankly, there's a lot more in here than you're ever going to need to know. But, you know, we were preparing. This is our first ever handbook. I'm going to be the first to tell you it is imperfect, but it is a good faith attempt of these 3 guys sitting at this table. So there may be things that we want to revise. You know, this is your board. You know, you make your rules. The rules are proposed. To the extent we need to change the rules, you know, you can change the rules. But this at least gives us a starting point. So again, I'm just happy to have you. I'm happy that we're separating this function from the zoning function. I've always kind of felt that's been a little bit awkward. And the reason we did it wasn't because somebody had this bright idea and the light bulb went off. When we transitioned from village to city, we were required to adopt a charter. And in that charter process, with Anna was very modest. She actually sat on our first charter commission that established a charter for this village, and that's the constitution basically for Sunbury. This was one of the things that came out and was developed as Board of Zoning Appeals. Then, of course, COVID hit, and it kind of just went sideways from there. We've been dealing administratively with all the COVID stuff, and I think we've only had a couple of things come through, but really getting this body up and moving took longer than what we had hoped for. But glad to have you here. I'm glad you're separate from zoning because I thought it's always been awkward. You know, they're hearing their other stuff, and they still have to hear the appeal stuff. And to me, it's always been, well, they just don't like me. And now I'm afraid to do the rest of it, or I don't want to do anything else having to do with zoning because of what they did on the variance. You know, I'm just glad it's separate. I think it's more proper than it is. The appeal, if they don't like what you've said, they can always appeal to the common police court. So you're not the end all, right? We try to create a good record. That's why you have the stenographer. That's why you create a record. We'll have a recorded record as well of what was done. We're going to try to mark exhibits. We're going to try to do the best we can to preserve that so that what's done here counts. If you don't do any of that and they appeal and there's no record here, then they can start over.
trial de novo is what it's generally referred to. And if there's nothing to appeal from, then the court just has to say, well, we got to start, I'll let you start over. And then they can get a second bite at the apple and they can redo everything, right? And that's not necessarily what we want. We would rather have you as our appointed BZA be the ones deciding things in Sunbury. Nothing against the Common Police Court, but they don't live here. They're not appointed to serve in this capacity you are. So it's important that, again, we preserve a good record, that we mark exhibits, again, that don't talk over each other. That's all important. But it's all for purposes of not only documenting what's done, but being able to defend it if it needs to be defended. And to the extent you're just flat out wrong and you get reversed, that's okay too. I mean, that could happen. Some of these variances things, I mean, there's a lot of case law out there. There's a lot of, they could find some law that none of us, including the attorneys here, may know about, some precedent where they can get it overturned. That being said, I've never had a variance out of Sunbury appeals to Common Police Court since I've been here. So generally speaking, we do a good job to work with the folks. These are going to be the residents, could be a neighbor, could be somebody you at least know, or somebody. You got to kind of distance yourself from those personal feelings and just look at, okay, what does this say? What's the criteria, and what am I supposed to look at and make your decisions based on that and the facts in front of you. I don't really have much of anything else. Again, there's going to be more here. I'm up with more. Reach out to us, contact us. We're your resource. So
we did provide you with a draft of the handbook. Go back when you're having a bout of insomnia. It's great.
I'll put you right to sleep.
Great source for relief of insomnia. We're working out some bylaws things yet, and we'll get those out before the next meeting. There's also in your packet a little bit of case law. One of the major court cases in Ohio was it's called Duncan, and the Supreme Court then kind of laid out the criteria for when variances are appropriate and not appropriate. So,
and I apologize. I thought we had bylaws for tonight. They're pretty much ready. We'll get those out to you.
Okay.
Yet this week.
I saw the handbook, but the one that came through didn't have bylaws.
Okay.
Okay. And
I don't have a copy of it.
we'll have those in the one.
We'll get them.
That'll be your first OneDrive
Yeah,
experience.
we'll put them in the OneDrive, and anybody that wants a paper copy, just let Steve know. Well, we can email it to all of you. As far as that
Yeah.
goes.
And again, the idea would be, review them. Ultimately, it's you guys that are adopting rules for yourself. So, I mean, we're giving you these as, they function as that or should function as that, but review it. And then the idea, I think, would be we come back the next time and we'd have a chance to, everybody looked at it. Again, people have questions, feel free to, I don't know whether we disseminated my email or his email, but we'll make sure we do that. You can shoot us questions and comments or whatever, and then obviously you guys would have an opportunity to discuss them at the next meeting and ultimately maybe adopt them then, or certainly at the time, I think before we were actually conducting business, whether it be a variance or appeal or something, it'd be good to have those in place. So that's the idea. And with the email, just to pair it off of Dave's, the sunshine law type of discussion, same thing. We through the OneDrive, as Steve indicated, there'll be information that's disseminated that way. When populated with information, emails may go out. The emails really will be informational, like here are the rules, or here, or something, or meeting changing or whatever. But in terms of the body deliberating, shouldn't do that via email either. When the body's deliberating, it needs to be in here on the record for all the reasons you said. And again, no differently than standing out. There's actually a case law about that where
Reply to all is not a good thing.
yeah, reply all is not a good thing, and especially when you have. So what do you guys think? Reply all. We don't want to do that. So if you have a question, like I said, pick the phone, give me a shout, and that's a good way to deal with it, I think.
I think I had a roster. I think you have email addresses for us all, and
Is on there.
yeah, it is. But I'll get some telephone numbers. That's a good thing to have on there too. at least for your support staff. So I'll do that, date it in the OneDrive. Let's see. So we do have one visitor. Are you just visiting, or do you want to? It was on the agenda. I'm sorry, Cindy.
My name is Cindy Cooper. I'm on city council. So I just came to introduce myself and just say hi and thank you on behalf of council and Sunbury. Thanks for joining us. We appreciate it. And that's it.
So at the next meeting, at least my goals, and it really is your goals, but my goals would be to deal with the chair, vice chair, deal with the bylaws, go through the handbook in some detail, and possibly we could even do a mock variance. Kind of have them walk through that process. Do you think that might have some value?
Sure.
Okay. And so, would you want to go next month, the third Monday of the month, to have that? Right now, there's, I don't know of any variances or appeals that are brewing or simmering in the background. So I don't anticipate we would have business that night other than to finalize the things we need to do to have you functioning fully as the board.
That would be the 21st of March.
Monday, March 21st.
Fine by me.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for tonight? If not, we're gonna be easy and everybody can go home and get to dinner.
Did you say there was another meeting after this too?
There's not, the Planning and Zoning Commission, we had anticipated an informal review, which is an opportunity for a developer to bring an idea forward without all the paperwork and reviews that happen. They have delayed for a month, and the couple items that are kind of on the table with the Planning Commission remained on the table at the request of the applicants. So there won't be a Planning Commission meeting tonight. We'll have nameplates for you by the next meeting. It takes a while to get those things in place. And again, thank you. Try the OneDrive link and see if that opens up for you. Let me know if it doesn't, and we'll get that folder populated with some more information for you to digest.
Fair enough.
Do they need to, somebody should probably make a motion to
We need a
it.
motion to adjourn in a second, and then we'll do a roll call vote.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
That's quick. Who's the second? Is that you, David? Okay. And you'll notice something that someone wanted from me a long time ago was kind of a rotation of the voting. So you may, like this time, I'm going to start with Ms. Frost for the adjournment.
Yes.
Mr. Grinnell.
Yes.
Mr. Long.
Yes.
Mr. Shrewsbury.
Yes.
Am I getting that last name right?
You're doing good.
Okay. Thank you. Mr. Whitman
Yes.
and Ms. Crawford.
Yes.
Okay, and so you're adjourned. And
Thank you.
Let me do that.